Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Gossip. I am here with my friends Anita, Dr. Haryati and Nadra, and we are talking about mental health. Are we doing mental health right? So I think that question is so open-ended. You know, we can talk about it until the end of the day, and we probably still might not know what is actually doing it right. But let's just talk a little bit, because I think all of us on this table have either personal experiences with it or have dealt with people with mental health, and that we've all agreed that somehow we are moving into the right direction. The speed in which we're getting there and the way we're getting there, those are all very debatable, but at least we know that there is a direction that we are going at. But I'm also quite keen to know or to discuss about the situation of mental health patients in the workplace. First of all, is it something that should be highlighted?
I think as if I were to come from a HR perspective, it's important to kind of highlight it just because. But it's not necessarily, but that's the thing, being in Malaysia as well, confidentiality can be very debatable within our society itself.
Okay, first of all, if we were to have guidelines and rules for a person that has mental illness, then we should also have rules and guidelines for a person that doesn't have mental illness. That means have physical illness. So why would you need a guideline or rules for a person that has mental illness versus a person that doesn't? Because right there's already discrimination. Because you think that when a person has mental illness, they're not able to function.
I feel if I'm not feeling well, or I know that I'm going through a certain thing, I would not drive. For example, I would not drive, and the people around me would tell me not to drive.
Know when to stop.
So it's not, to me, it's not like, I just know that it will affect someone else's safety, for example. So, I mean, I'm medicated, I'm under control, alhamdulillah for the most, but I have episodes. So I'm thinking, if I'm in charge of a child at that point, if I'm a nanny or I'm in charge of a child and I'm in the middle of an episode like that, if I am the mother of that child, I might be a little bit like...
I think the most important thing is for us to actually remember the first principle of psychology as a practice is do good and do no harm. All right, I think we're talking about the individual with the mental health conditions as well as the people that they're surrounded by, or with. For me, I think all organizations ideally should make employee assistance program accessible. That's first and foremost. In other words, once they have an EAP, it shows that they recognize that their employees are not all 100% healthy physically and mentally all the time.
Right.
Yeah. So I think
for every person.
For every person, yes. So at the end of the day, the most important thing is if I were an employer, but I have a background in psychology, so I would actually require someone to disclose that they have a physical illness or a mental illness, and make sure that the support is available. That my staff are all educated to look for the signs, to provide support continuously, and most importantly is to actually provide tasks or job scope that suits the individual. So there has to be a person job fit. So you cannot, if you have a person who's highly stressed or grieving, you don't ask them to do things that make them more vulnerable. So there's always, that decision. It's not an all or none thing that you cannot, transfer the person to a job that suits them better. Have more flexible working hours, for instance.
Look, obviously, I think it's a fantastic idea. But
ideally,
I think it's great. But as an employer, wouldn't you think, oh my God, that's so much work. I'll just go with somebody who doesn't have all these requirements.
But like Anita says, they have other issues. They have anger issues. Stress issues. So at the end of the day,
navigate around that? If somebody says that they have anxiety with stress, that is induced by stress, is it then on the employer to say, okay, I'll give you a job scope that will help you manage your stress? How does that work? Then shouldn't you, if you can't control your stress, shouldn't you actually just work with roses and you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be in an environment.
And that's why psychology is beautiful, because you have what we call ergonomics.
That's where humanity comes in.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
you look at the human beings.
Yes,
it's not about the structure. It's not about the JD and TOR. It's about the people that you are paying to help. I'll share with you an example, if you don't mind. I mean, it's not at the workplace. It's a personal experience. I was attacked by a patient with schizophrenia when I was in the UK doing my PhD. When people say, oh, charge her, you know, bring her to court, I was saying she's protected by the Mental Health Act. And what I was concerned with is that we did not have a system where once she was discharged from the hospital, that there was going to be people following up with her medication, providing her psychotherapy, and people like us in the university, providing her with an environment where she grows, you know, because once she's discharged from the hospital, it shows that she's able to and able to function, But because we failed as a society, even in the UK, failed as a society to ensure that medication is accessible, that she does take her medication, that she goes to see the doctor.
That's why I said it could be because in itself it's our culture, it's our society. Because the thing about disclosing, it's not to judge them, but to let them know that this is me. If I were to, you know, reach out, if I were to disclose, it's me reaching out. Because when I reach out means that, you know, everybody should be aware, like Dr. Haryati said. You know, it's like in itself, the teammates that I'm working with are my support system. Just this morning, because it's World Mental Health Day, I got a message from our CEO, that startup that I'm attached with. So he was sharing a message where the CEO of our accelerators forwarded. He said, like, you know, in conjunction with World Mental Health Day, if you feel like you need a leave, you know, 2 months leave, and just reach out, because, and unfortunately, of course, they're not Malaysian-based companies, but it's nice you know, I mean, that welcoming awareness kind of like, and I think that's one of the reasons like why we reach out, why we are afraid to reach out or disclose in Malaysia, is because the acceptance within our society.
Betul.
It's not because we want to discriminate.
Okay. But do we ourselves, you know, people who know about the subject in the field and the people who go through it themselves, do we help make this conversation more difficult, or do we actually try to come up with some solutions for it? We'll hold on to that, and we will talk about it when we get back.
I do not define a person with mental health problem as the person himself. It's a condition that the person lives with.
Yes.
And that's why we don't call a depressed person. We call the person a person living with depression. But she's a mom, she's a sister, she's a creative writer. Hey, hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for more videos on DOPStv.